Alright, hello everyone. Today I'm going to be doing another video on Apex once again. Today is going to be like a concept video for a new kind of idea, I guess, because I've done a few concept videos like this in the past where I've basically talked about the loot pool and things like that, and we're starting to see quite a lot of my concepts actually be added into the game, referring to around the loot pool and things like that. And that's why I bring up this right here, the new amp system. As you see right here, we have the shields, we have these new like amps, which basically take over from the helmets that we had in this recent season and the season before as well, where the helmets basically got reworked so that they no longer do protection from headshot damage. They instead just give you new abilities. So it's basically just taken over from that, these little amp abilities, and now helmets are no longer to be seen. They are removed from the game, even though they technically were removed before, because they no longer had the helmet reduction, the headshot reduction thing. But now they're fully removed. None of them are in the game now. Now we just have these cool little kind of ability things. But yeah, we've actually seen quite a few like abilities and gear items removed from the game completely out of nowhere. We've seen before with the body shields; they've now just been integrated as Evo shields. There's no more body shields anywhere. Obviously, helmets have been completely removed from the game. Same as well, if you look on the right hand side, you'll see the knockdown shields. There's no longer a gold knockdown shield. Too many people complained about its effect. And so they just completely removed the gold knockdown shield, and we haven't actually seen it come back since, or like get a separate ability. So they're just kind of being removed. That like the developers have not came up with a new ability to give the knockdown shield, which kind of leads me to my next thing that I'm going to talk about. Is that because the gold knockdown shield has been removed and they haven't thought of a new ability for it, it kind of leads me to believe that they're just going to remove knockdown shields entirely. Not the actual feature of the knockdown shield and the fact that you throw up a shield when you go down. I think they're just going to tie it to your shield level. And it makes more sense as well because when you are leveling up, you know, you go from grey to blue to purple. And that's it now. There's no like red or gold after that. That's been removed as well with next season as well. It's just simply grey, blue, purple. That's it. And so with this, it exactly lines up the knockdown shields as well. We only have grey, blue, and purple. There's no gold anymore, that's been removed. And so I think they could easily remove the knockdown shield too, and just have it be tied to your shield. And that's the entire concept, guys. I think it's a really easy fix, just to kind of clear up 3 more items from the loot pool. And I know it's not really too much of an issue right now to get the weapons that you want to get, because we have arsenals in the game right now and things like that. But why have knockdown shields on the floor? You know, especially when they could. It has in the name. It has knockdown shield, and we have shields in the game. So I think it just makes sense, and probably will be more. Just overall, just makes sense really, and like it makes more sense for like newer players as well. You know, the amount of things that they're gonna have to learn when they pick up the game. Like, oh, this is a knockdown shield. What does this do? Oh, this is a backpack. What does it do? You know, all these different things they're gonna have to take note of. And for this, I think it's so much better if it's just integrated into the shield. You know, you start off the game, at the very start of the game, you have a grey knockdown shield. So, and it makes sense as well, because at the start of the game, a lot of people die, and it makes sense if you have a very bad knockdown shield, so you're able to die very quickly. But at the end of the game, you don't really want to be dying so often when you are downed. So having a purple knockdown shield, because you are purple shield, makes a lot of sense. Sometimes you can get fucked by the RNG in this game, and you'll have a purple shield, but you'll just have a grey knockdown shield. And so you've tried all game to get your perks and everything, and you have your purple shield, but then your knockdown shield is just terrible, so you just die immediately as soon as you get downed. I just think it makes sense for the game to just have them integrated. And overall, clearing the loot pool, yes, I know, as I said before, it's not as much of a problem now as it was before for things like weapons and stuff like that. Because we have the arsenals, and they can just upgrade weapons, attachments, and everything, and give you the weapons that you want without any RNG involved. But I do think removing the loot pool is still very much necessary for new features to be added, as we've seen with this season. There's now 5 items in the game now that previously were not there, and so we could see other things like that, but at the early stages of the game, that are on the floor rather than in loot bins and stuff like that midway through the game, which that's when, of course, amp abilities spawn. It's midway through the game when the loot bins refresh and stuff like that. That's when the amp abilities spawn, but we could see new items at the start of the game that take place and cover from the loot that is going to be removed with the knockdown shields, and fill them little spaces that are gone. So I do think the knockdown shield should be integrated into the shield. But let me know what you guys think, because I just think this is probably like the easiest change that the developers can make, and everyone would just go, yeah, that makes sense. You know, like I think everyone would just say, yeah, like why not? I also do feel like it will get to a point though where nothing is Apex anymore, because we used to have the 4, the body shield, it was the helmet, the knockdown shield, and the backpack. That was your gear. At the very start of the game, that is what it was. And we've lost the helmets. We might lose the knockdown shields. We're just going to have a technically body shield, even though it's an Evo shield now, and the backpack that's left. And I think the backpack makes sense to stay, though, as well. Because your whole inventory is made up of your backpack. Your person, your character, your legend is your shield. And so I do think it makes sense for the backpack to stay. That's why I don't think removing it makes sense at all. I do also wonder what's going to happen with things like the, if this were to go ahead, what would happen with things like the gold backpack, because there's no gold shield anymore. There's no gold helmet because the helmet's removed. There's also no gold knockdown shield anymore. So the gold bag next season will literally be the only gold item for the gears section. It'll be the only gold gear item, which is weird because we used to have a gold one for every single one, and they've all been removed. So I am truly wondering, is the gold backpack going to be removed soon as well? To be honest, it would make sense because it would allow for that consistency. You know, if say knockdown shields are removed and integrated into shields, we have just the grey, blue, and purple shield, and we just have the grey, blue, and purple backpack. It allows for consistency overall. In that sense as well, I do think that amp abilities should be legendary tier. I think having them purple tier is a little bit weird because the whole point of the gold tier is it adds different abilities, and I think the amp abilities makes the most sense because it technically gives your shield like an amp ability. You know what I mean? Like I think they just need to be gold tier. Like don't change the way that spawn. I think they still make sense to spawn in the refreshed loot bins and stuff, but just make them gold instead of purple. Just makes sense because it fits in with the class. But of course, on that same thought though, I think all the other things like the gold bag and things like that should be removed from the game and then just made into an amp ability. You know, it just makes sense. And therefore, we only have grey, blue, and purple backpacks and shields. That's it. That's all the gear items, and then you have the amp abilities too. But I would like to hear what you guys think, because honestly, the game has changed so much since I started making like concepts, and the gear in the game has been a very big focal point for me because it has also changed quite a lot as well. And I do think the more simplistic the gear is in the game, the better, because looting in this game is so annoying, and we've seen it as well with the new limited time mode that is just coming out this coming season as well. The whole point of this new limited time mode is to make it so you get in the gunfights. You don't have to loot as much because people don't really like looting for like the first half of the game, and then when you finally get into a fight, you just die immediately. And so I think making the loot, especially the gear, easier to get maxed out with having less of it is better. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. I just want to kind of rant about this because I do think, honestly, the knockdown shield should be removed and just integrated the shield. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.